Hi, today I'm going to go over how to use the color lithophane tool. It's fairly straightforward. Um, so first you need to upload an image. So hit the browse button and that'll bring up um, the tool that you can pick your image. So I'll just pick something here. Then the next thing is you need to pick your filament brand. Now this is important because you need to pick the filament brand of your actual filament. So you can't, if you have one brand and then you select another brand in the drop down, the color matching is going to be off. So I'll just leave this set as a default, but we have 5 different brands that you can use that will match with. And then the next is the lithophane resolution. So that's basically when you have a lithophane, is how much detail is in the white top of the lithophane. And so this is like basically how many like millimeters between the peaks it is. And I usually go with like half your nozzle size. So if you have a 0.4 nozzle, I would choose 0.2. If you're using a 0.2 nozzle, go with 0.1. So I usually do a 0.2 nozzle. And the extrusion width, again, is related to your nozzle size, but it's also the setting that must match what's in your slicing software. So if this doesn't match up, then things aren't going to work out very well. Typically, if I have a 0.4 nozzle, I'll just do 0.4. If I have a 0.2 nozzle, I'll just do it a little bit bigger than that. And then the print width and print height is going to be the physical size of your lithophane. So, if you've got some sort of light box, this is the size that you'd want it to be. So I'm going to make it smaller than the default because I want it to run a little quicker in the demo. So I'll just set it to half that size, like this. So once you've got your settings, what you can do then is hit the preview color lithophane. So what this will do is it'll actually take your image, run it through the converter, and give you an estimate of what the image is going to look like when it's printed. Now, obviously, a caveat here, it's not going to look exactly like this because, your light box might be brighter or not as bright, or it might have a more yellow of a light than a white. But it'll give you a kind of a good ballpark of what it's going to look like. And then if you're happy with the preview, then you can hit the create color lithophane, and then it'll, depending on the size, it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds to a minute if you got a really huge one. So that's it for the creating the lithophane. So then we'll move on to actually then kind of slicing it. Okay, so after you have the zip file downloaded, so this is what it looks like kind of expanded. It has the base layer of the lithophane, the color layers, and then the white lithophane top. And then it also has some instructions and the preview image. So the instructions are just basically tips for like settings. So it tells you kind of what settings you had put in it. And then since this is using a particular brand, it should be, and your setting, your extrusion width should be to 0.225. Your layer height should be at 0.1 for the base layer, and then all the other layers should be 0.08. And then what I do, and I'll show you this in a moment, is when you get to the lithophane top, I usually do a height modifier, so it prints the lithophane top even thinner. So you kind of get better quality, and so it shows you that where you should do that. So at 0.58 and above, you should do 0.05 if you want the kind of the highest quality of your lithophane. So what I do is I do have sort of profiles for 0.2 nozzles for all the filament brands. So I've opened the one for American Filament because that's the one that I'm using here, and so there's just a very small file that's in it. So you go in and delete it. And then, so basically then, and this is important, you have to select them all at the same time and copy them in all at the same time. And then you'll have the question of, do you want it as multiple parts? You must say yes, or your lithophane isn't going to line up. So now we have the lithophane, all parts, and it's all in its correct orientation. So what we're going to then do is we need to go into objects, and this is where you need to set the colors for each layer. So in my setup, and obviously for your setup, the colors may be in different numbers, and that's not an issue. Just make sure you have the right one. So for me, white is number 4. So for white here, I select the, number 4. Cyan is already number 1. Magenta is 2. And just go through and make sure, and be careful with this, because if you get these wrong, your color is going to be way off. So we only got a couple more to go. Yellow, and then white for the top. Okay, and then for that, doing the adjusted for the lithophane part to do it at a higher resolution, if you click here, and this is for like Orca Slicer, and I think Prusa Slicer can do it, and I know Bamboo Slicer can also do it. But if you right click, you get a, and it's cut off the screen, but you have a height range modifier button. And then what you can do is then select the range. So it would, from before, it was 0.08, and just go to 4. It's not quite this tall, but that'll do. And then this is the options for that particular height. So you switch that to 5. And you're all set. So now we're mostly done, but I just want to go back to the global for things you want to check. So layer height, so that's the base layer, is 0.1, and then the color layers above that is 0.08. So that's good. And you're gonna, it's everything with the typical lithophane, you're gonna want it to be, solid. You don't want it to be, like 50% infill or something like that. So then we slice the plate, and this, if you have a fairly big lithophane, this is going to take a long time. There's a lot going on in generating a color lithophane. There's just a whole ton of triangles. In fact, you might get warnings saying, oh, there's a lot of triangles, do you want to simplify? Like, no, you do not want to simplify. Just wait for it to come out. So then it tells you all the, all the time. So, lithophanes usually take a while. Sometimes you will get like this warning, seems like something's floating. I think this is just rounding errors, like when the layers on top of each other. It isn't an issue. You can safely ignore it. So at this point, after your lithophane is sliced, you want to definitely sort of scrub through what it looks like. So what it should be is that you're going to have a whole bunch of layers on top, obviously, that are the lithophane layers. But there should be 6 color layers. So that means when you get to on layer 8, it should still be a white layer. So we see at layer 8, it's still white. And then at layer 7, it should be color. So layers 2 through 7 should be the color layers. And then you also want to make sure, you kind of want to look at this a little bit to make sure that you see how you have like these little squares. This is good. So that means you've matched up your extrusion with your what setting you put in when you create the lithophane. So again, just sort of make sure that you have all 6 of the color layers, and then the bottom layer is white, and then at this point you should be good to go and print. So anyways, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. Thanks.